Today we're diving into a topic that often involves complicated geopolitical dynamics, historical context, and of course some seriously big explosions. We're talking about militaries, but we're not focusing on the military superpowers of the world with their cutting-edge technology and massive armies. Nope. Today we're looking at the opposite end of the spectrum, the 15 weakest militaries in the world for 2024, and number 8 will leave you shocked. Now, before we jump into the list, it's important to remember that military strength isn't just about brute force. It's about a complex interplay of factors, like a country's economic situation, access to resources, and even its geographic location. This list is based on a bunch of different metrics, including GDP, defense spending, manpower, the number of tanks, armored fighting vehicles, military aircraft, and naval assets. Let's get started. Coming in at number 1 on our list of the weakest militaries in the world is Mauritania, a vast desert nation in northwest Africa. Much of Mauritania's military hardware is, to put it lightly, a bit vintage. We're talking about outdated equipment, mostly hand-me-downs from the Soviet era, some French arms and a sprinkle of Chinese equipment. While manpower is technically a strength for the Mauritanian military, it's important to remember that sheer numbers don't always translate to effectiveness, especially in modern warfare. And when it comes to naval power, well, let's just say that Mauritania's navy isn't exactly striking fear into the hearts of pirates roaming the high seas. Our next entry, Gabon, a small nation on the west coast of Central Africa, has been making headlines recently, and not for its military prowess. A military coup earlier this year ousted the Bongo family, who had held power for over 5 decades, marking a significant shift in the country's political landscape and dealing a blow to French influence in the region. See, France has been a major supplier of military equipment to Gabon, even stationing troops there for training purposes. However, following the coup, that assistance has been put on hold. The big question now is what impact this will have on Gabon's already fragile military. Will the new leadership prioritize strengthening its defenses, or will Gabon's military might continue to wane? Hey everyone, and welcome back to our countdown of the weakest militaries in the world. At number 3, we find the island nation of Madagascar, a place with incredible biodiversity, but a military struggling to stay afloat. And I'm not just saying that because it's an island. You see, Madagascar's security sector has historically been about as stable as a house of cards in a hurricane. The military is deeply politicized, with external influences pulling it in different directions, and there's a long and complicated history of attempted power grabs. Imagine trying to build a strong, unified defense force when internal divisions and outside pressures are constantly threatening to topple the whole structure. Adding to that, working conditions for the average soldier in Madagascar are often pretty dismal. We're talking low wages, poor equipment, and limited opportunities for advancement. It's a recipe for low morale, which, as you can imagine, doesn't exactly translate into a fierce fighting force. And the equipment situation itself is, to put it mildly, not great. Much of what the Madagascar armed forces rely on is outdated, outmatched, and in desperate need of an upgrade. It's a classic example of a country where the military is hamstrung by a lack of resources and burdened by internal challenges. Bosnia and Herzegovina, a nation grappling with the legacy of conflict and rebuilding. Their military strength trails behind much of the world, but their economy shows signs of growth. They've received crucial military assistance from the US, UAE, and Saudi Arabia. Their story is far from over. At number 5, we have Montenegro, a small but stunningly beautiful nation nestled in the Balkan region of Europe. With a population of just over 600,000, Montenegro's military might isn't tipping the scales. It's a David and Goliath situation here, folks. Much of their military hardware is aging Soviet-era equipment. But in 2017, they joined NATO, gaining access to training, resources, and military aid. This support could modernize their defenses and give Montenegro a fighting chance. Coming in at number 6, we have Somalia. Decades of conflict have devastated its military capabilities. Somalia's armed forces lack essential equipment like tanks and aircraft. With only 3 naval assets, patrolling its coastline is challenging. The UN imposed an arms embargo in 1992. This was to prevent weapons from reaching terrorist groups. President Mohammed has appealed to lift the embargo. He cites improved security and efforts against al-Shabaab. Whether the UN will lift the embargo remains to be seen. Tucked away on the northeastern coast of South America, we find Suriname, a small nation with an even smaller military. With a manpower of less than 2,000 troops, Suriname's army is dwarfed by many others around the world. Like Somalia, it lacks tanks, a crucial component of any modern military force, and its air force is virtually non-existent, with a mere 3 aircraft in its fleet. Suriname's limited military capabilities are largely a result of its small population and relatively peaceful history. Unlike some of the other nations on our list, Suriname hasn't been embroiled in major conflicts requiring a large and well-equipped military force. Instead, its focus has been on maintaining internal security and participating in regional peacekeeping efforts. However, this limited military capacity raises questions about Suriname's ability to defend its borders and resources, particularly in the face of growing concerns about transnational organized crime. The discovery of offshore oil reserves in Suriname's territorial waters has further heightened the need for a more robust naval presence. Whether Suriname will invest in expanding and modernizing its military in the coming years remains to be seen. The decision will likely depend on a complex calculus of economic factors, security concerns, and the country's overall strategic priorities. But for now, Suriname stands as a reminder that military might isn't always a nation's top priority. At number 8, we find Kosovo, a landlocked nation in southeastern Europe with a complicated history. Having declared its independence from Serbia in 2008, Kosovo's journey to international recognition has been fraught with challenges. This tumultuous past is reflected in its military, which, with only 5,000 troops, is among the smallest in the world. Kosovo's military lacks the essential components of a traditional fighting force. It has no tanks, no military aircraft, and no naval assets. This is largely due to its recent emergence as an independent nation, and the ongoing challenges it faces in establishing a fully operational and self-sufficient military force. However, Kosovo has made some strides in building up its defense capabilities. It boasts a relatively strong fleet of armored fighting vehicles, many of which have been generously donated by the United States and Turkey, two countries that have played a significant role in supporting Kosovo's independence. Despite these efforts, Kosovo's military remains limited in its capacity to defend the nation against external threats. Its security largely depends on the continued support of NATO, which maintains a peacekeeping force in the country. The future of Kosovo's military, much like its political status, remains uncertain, but for now it stands as a testament to the enduring challenges of nation-building in a region marked by conflict and division. Sierra Leone, a nation with striking mountains cascading down to a beautiful coastline, yet it's a country marked by hardship, including a brutal civil war. Sierra Leone's army is small and uses outdated Soviet-era equipment. The heart of the matter is economics. Sierra Leone is really poor. When people struggle for basic necessities, new weapons are a tough sell. So Sierra Leone's military remains a stark reminder of the long-lasting consequences of conflict. Nestled between Romania and Ukraine, we find the small, landlocked nation of Moldova. Known for its rolling hills and vineyards, Moldova has a complicated relationship with Russia. Moldova holds the unfortunate title of having the weakest military in Europe. Russia maintains a military presence in the breakaway region of Transnistria. From the landlocked plains of Moldova, we travel south to the West African nation of Benin. Known for its vibrant culture, colorful markets, and unique history as the birthplace of the Vodun religion, Benin is also, unfortunately, home to one of the weakest militaries in the world. Now, Benin's military struggles with many of the same issues we've seen before: low manpower and a severe lack of equipment. It's a common problem for smaller, less wealthy nations. However, unlike some countries on our list, Benin has a friend in a high place: France. You see, Benin was once a French colony, and while those days are long gone, France still maintains close ties with its former colony, including in the realm of military assistance. In recent years, France has gifted Benin with a variety of military hardware, including armored vehicles and helicopters, a much-needed boost to be sure. But even with France's helping hand, Benin's military still has a long way to go. Modernizing a military takes more than just shiny new equipment. It requires investment in training, infrastructure, and perhaps most importantly, the people who serve. And that, my friends, is a challenge that Benin, like many other nations on our list, will continue to grapple with for years to come. Hey everyone, and welcome back to our not-so-fun ranking of the world's weakest militaries. Today, we're looking at the Central African Republic, or CAR, a country grappling with instability and security challenges that make it tough to field a strong military. We're talking about a nation where basic infrastructure is often lacking, let alone the resources needed for a modern fighting force. And this lack of resources isn't just about money, though CAR's economy certainly plays a role. It's also about the diamonds. See, CAR is rich in diamonds, but those diamonds often fuel conflict rather than fund development. It's a classic resource curse situation, and it leaves the CAR vulnerable to exploitation. Enter Russia. Now, Russia has been increasing its influence in Africa, and CAR is no exception. They've been donating military equipment, including training aircraft, as part of a broader geopolitical strategy. Think of it like that friend who's always willing to lend you a helping hand, but you know they're probably expecting something in return down the line. The question is, will this Russian assistance be enough to significantly strengthen CAR's military? Well, it's complicated. While any help is better than none, CAR needs more than just equipment. It needs stability, it needs a functioning economy, and it needs to break free from the cycle of conflict that's kept it trapped for so long. From the heart of Africa, we shift our focus to Central America and the nation of Belize. Now, Belize is a beautiful country known for its stunning coral reefs and lush rainforests, but it also faces some serious challenges, particularly when it comes to security. With a military manpower estimated at just 2,000 troops, it's one of the smallest fighting forces in the world. To put that into perspective, that's like the entire student body of a medium-sized high school being responsible for defending a country. And it's not just the size of the force that's a problem, it's also the lack of resources. Belize simply doesn't have the budget to invest in advanced weaponry or maintain a large standing army. This is where the United States comes in. The US has a long-standing relationship with Belize, and they provide significant support to the Belizean military, including equipment and training. In fact, both of the military aircraft currently operated by Belize were donated by the US. But even with US assistance, Belize faces an uphill battle. The country is a major transit point for drug trafficking, and it struggles to combat organized crime and human trafficking. It's a reminder that security isn't just about having a big army, it's about addressing the root causes of instability and building a more just and equitable society. Liberia, on Africa's west coast, exemplifies how economic realities impact defense capabilities. It's among the lowest defense spenders globally, with minimal military strength. No tanks, few patrol boats, and no military aircraft. This leaves Liberians feeling vulnerable. Without security, attracting investment is tough, limiting defense resources. True security links to economic development and well-being. It's about creating a stable society with a multi-pronged approach. And finally, we arrive at Bhutan, a country that presents a fascinating paradox. Nestled high in the Himalayas, this tiny nation boasts breathtaking landscapes and a unique cultural identity. Bhutan consistently ranks at the very bottom in military strength. Yet Bhutan has never been invaded by a foreign power. It's a remarkable feat considering its location between China and India. Bhutan maintains its sovereignty through strategic diplomacy and peaceful coexistence. Its military focuses on border security and disaster relief. Bhutan's minimalist defense approach hasn't hindered its ability to thrive. Bhutan, in its peaceful resilience, offers a compelling answer. And there you have it, the top 15 weakest militaries in the world in 2024. From economic constraints to geopolitical factors, we've seen how a complex interplay of variables shapes a nation's defense capabilities. But remember, military strength isn't the only measure of a country's resilience. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. See you in the next video.